Hello and welcome to this lecture, and in this lecture we are going to learn how to go ahead and design this activity right here in which we could retrieve the image, the title and the description or the caption. So in the previous lectures we have already learned how to insert the data into database, and now comes the time when we learn how to retrieve the data. So without wasting any time, let's go ahead and jump into the lecture. So the first thing which you need to do is that, as you could see, as we need to design this particular layout, this layout is actually a card view embedded into a recycler view. So for that, what we need to do is that we need to design this type of recycler view first. So in order to do that, I'm going to just minimize this, or I'm going to actually go ahead and close this. And I'm going to go to the main activities XML code, which is this thing right here. And as you could see, this thing is a relative layout, and what we are going to do here is that we are going to make this thing a recycler view. So in order to add a recycler view to your application, simply type in recycler view. This thing right here is the recycler view, so simply add it up over here, and this should be actually having a width equal to match parent, and the height is going to be equal to match parent as well. So once these two properties are added, the final thing which we do is that we go ahead and also add the ID to this. So the ID is going to be, let's say, insta underscore list, as this is going to have a list. So as you could see, now we have a recycler view added over here. So once this thing is done, we are pretty much good to go. And you could also remove the padding from the sides and the top and bottom if you want by deleting this. So we will actually have a look at it later, but for now, this is our recycler view. So now what we want to do is that we want to get a reference to this particular recycler view. So we switch on to the main activity.java code, and in here, what we do is that we get a reference to that particular recycler view. So we go right here and we type in private. That's going to be recycler view. That's going to be, let's say, m post, or let's say m insta list. So now we have the reference to the recycler view. Now we need to actually go ahead and initialize this recycler view. So we go inside the onCreate, and here we type in m insta list equals, and typecast it to recycler view. Then we type in find view by id r.id dot, and the name of this thing was insta list. So once we have a reference to it, we are basically good to go. Now what we want to do is that we want to set a fixed size for this particular recycler view. So we type in m insta list dot set has fixed size, and we set it equal to true. So that's actually going to give it a fixed size so that the size does not change when we run the application. And the next thing which we do is that we also set up the layout manager for this. So what we do is that we type in m insta list dot set layout manager, and we type in new layout manager, and in here we pass in the parameter as this. So once this thing is done, we are basically good to go. So now the next thing which you need to do here is that you need to go ahead and you need to create the layout of the individual card view. So if you talk about the layout, let me just again bring back the layout. So as you could see, this thing is our layout, and we have designed the recycler view. But if you look at this card, we have to design the layout of this card separately. So what we do here is that we go ahead and we create a new layout resource file by going into the layout folder. So we'll go right here, go to new, and create a layout resource file. And let's call this file as, let's say, insta underscore row. And once this thing is done, we are pretty much good to go. So simply hit OK, and as you could see, we have our layout right over here. So in this layout, what we are going to do is that we are going to go ahead and make some changes over here. But before that, let's fix this error which we have over here. So as you could see, we have an error on this line because that should actually be linear layout manager. and hopefully that should fix our error. And I guess we don't need a recycler view over here. And make sure to import the linear layout manager as well. Okay, so once this thing is done, our error is fixed. Now let's move on to the layout which we were talking about right now, and that is the insta row. And in here, what we will do is that we will delete the entire code, that is the linear layout, and instead of the linear layout, what we are going to do is that we are going to go ahead and create a card view. So similar to the recycler view, you also type in card view over here. And once this thing is done, you are good to go. So as you could see, now we have our card view set up over here. And now to this, we are going to add in the height as well as the width for the card view. So we type height is going to be equal to wrap content, and after this, let's set the width to, let's say, match parent, as that is going to be filling up the entire thing. So match parent. And the final thing which you need to do is that you also need to set up the margin. So we'll type in margin equals, let's say, 20 dp. So once that thing is done, we are basically good to go. Now the next thing which we need to do is that we need to add the card view over here, which we have actually designed in the layout. So to design the card view, first what you need to do is that you need to add another linear layout to this with the width as match parent and the height as wrap content. And once this thing is done, you also need to set up the orientation for this, and the orientation for this is going to be vertical, and the margin is going to be equal to 10 dp. So as you could see, we have a linear layout over here, and to this linear layout, what we will do is that we will add an image view and a text view. So the image view is going to be for the typical image which we are going to add. So we will type in image view, and that's going to be having a width equal to match parent, and the height is going to be equal to, let's say, 200 dp. And as you could see, this actually looks quite good. So we are actually getting closer to designing this layout. And the next thing which we do is that we also set it an ID. So let's say the ID is @+id slash let's say post image. And once we are done adding up the ID, we are good to go. Now let's go ahead and add the text view as well. So here is going to be the text view with width as match parent, height as wrap content, and let's specify some text here. So we'll type in text equals let's say post title. And the next thing which we do is that we also set up the margin for this. So that's going to be layout margin, and we'll set it equal to, let's say, 5 dp. So once we have set up the margin, let's also give it an ID. So let's say the ID is going to be text title. And similar to this, we also need to have the text view for the description as well. So what I'm going to do here is that I'm simply going to copy this code and I'm going to paste it over here. So as you could see, now we have the post title as well, but here we need to set this thing to, let's say, post description, and the ID is going to be text description. And once this thing is done, we are basically good to go. So as you could see, now our layout actually looks quite ready. And now once this layout is done, the next thing which we need to do is that we need to get the data and post it over here in these views right here. So in order to do that, what we are going to do is that we are going to create a new what you could say class, and that class is going to have all the data which we want, and that data is going to be nothing but the image, the title, and the description. And once it has these three things, what we are going to do is that we are going to add the getters and setters for that class as well. And what that class is going to do is that it's going to help us to fill up the layout over here. So let's quickly go ahead and create that class. So what we will do is that we will go to the Java folder, and in here we will create a new Java class, and we will name it something like let's say insta. Click OK. And in here what we will do is that, as this is going to have 3 values, that is the title, description and string, we'll type in private string title, comma DSC and image. Sorry, that should be image. And once this thing is done, you also need to set up the constructor for this class. So we'll type in public insta. Over here, this is going to be an empty constructor, and we also want a constructor with parameters. So that's going to be public insta, and it's going to have the parameters. So string title, comma string description, comma string image. So once we have these things, let's basically set this thing up. So this dot title equals title, this dot description equals description, and this dot image is going to be equal to image. So once this thing is done, we are good to go. Now what we need to do is that we just need to go ahead and set up the getters and setters. So we'll type in get title, we'll type in get image, and we'll type in get description. Similarly, we will have the setters. So set title, set image, and set description. So once we have this class with us, we are basically good to go. Now the next thing which we need to do is that we need to go back to the main activity, and then we need to create a recycler view. And in order to create a recycler view, we need to create a view holder first. So what we need to do is that we need to go ahead, go to main activity, and go below any method over here, and then you could type in public class, and that's going to be insta view holder, and this is going to extend recycler view dot view holder. So what this class is going to do is that it's basically going to go ahead and it's going to get the view that is nothing but the recycler view, and it's going to set the elements which are nothing but the title text and the title description along with the image. So what we will do here is that we'll type in public, that's going to be insta view holder, and that's going to have a parameter which is item view. So we'll pass an item view over here, and then we type in super item view over here, and then what we do is that we create another view which is view, let's type in mview equals item view. So this is essentially a constructor, and once we have the constructor, let's go ahead and set up the title and description. So the way you set up the title and description is you have a method which is public void set title, and this is going to have string title. So once it has the title, what we do is that we create a text view. So text view, that's going to be post title equals get a reference to the text view. So this is going to be text view, and that's going to be item view dot find view by id r dot id dot, and what we want to do here is that we basically want to get a reference to the text title which we have created in the layout, which is nothing but the insta row. So as you could see, we have a text title over here and text description over here. So we need to go back to the main activity, and that is going to be text title, and then final thing which we do is that we set this post title to this particular title over here. So that's going to be post title dot set text, and set the text to this title over here. And once this thing is done, we are done setting up the title. Now after setting up the title, what we want to do is that we also want to set up the description in the same manner. So what we will do is that we'll type in public void, that's going to be set description. So let's type in set desc, that's going to have string desc, and in here what we will do is that we will get a reference similar to this. So I am just going to copy this code, paste it over here, and this is going to be post underscore desc, and it's going to have a reference to the description. So that's going to be text description. This is going to be changed to post description, and this is going to change to DESC as well. So once this thing is done, we are basically good to go, and our recycler view looks almost ready. We just need to go ahead and set up the final recycler view in our onStart method. So what we do here is that we go and look for onStart in this, and I guess we don't have onStart right now. So what we will do here is that we'll add an onStart method. So that's going to be onStart. This is going to be super onStart, and in here what we do is that we create a Firebase recycler adapter. So we'll type in Firebase recycler adapter, and that's actually going to have the class, which is nothing but the class which we have created, which is insta. So insta comma insta view holder, and let's name this thing as Firebase recycler adapter as FBRA equals new Firebase recycler adapter of the same type, and it's actually going to have a method which basically allows us to go ahead and populate the view. So make sure to have a semicolon over here, and in here what we are going to do is that we are going to set a few parameters over here. So the first parameter is going to be the class, so that's going to be insta.class. The next parameter is going to be the layout which we want to use. So in this case we want to populate the recycler view with this layout which we have created, that is insta row. So we'll type in r.layout.insta row. After this, what you want to do is that you want to pass in the view holder class, which is insta view holder. So that's going to be insta view holder.class. And then finally what you need to do is that you also need to have a reference to your database as well. So right now we don't have any reference to database, so I'm just going to quickly go ahead and create a database reference. So that's going to be private database reference, and let's type in m database, and after this let's go ahead and add it up over here. So that's going to be m database over here, and once this thing is done, we are basically good to go. And after this, you set your insta list to this adapter which we have created right over here. So that's going to be m insta list dot set adapter, and we are going to set it equal to FBRA, which is this thing right here which we have just created. So once this thing is done, we are basically good to go. So in the next part, we'll be covering the final part in designing our recycler view. So in this part, what we have done is that we basically went ahead, we created this layout right here, which is basically the card view. And then after creating that, what we have done is that we have also created this class right here, which basically allows us to set the title, description, and the image. And once we are done with this, we actually went into the main activity, and we have actually created a new class over here, and that class is basically this class right here, which is insta view holder. We actually made it extend from the recycler view holder. So this is actually going to be the view which is going to set up the title and the description, and we have also used a constructor over here. So after this, what we have done here is that in the onStart, we have actually tried to populate the recycler view. So in this recycler view, we have set a few parameters, that is from which class it's actually going to take its data. Then we have set the layout as well, which is nothing but the layout which we have created. Then we have also set the view holder class for this, which is this view holder class right here. We have set the database reference as well. And then finally, we have set the list to this adapter which we have created. So that's it for this lecture, and in the next lecture we will continue designing this recycler view. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.